Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Dwayne with Off Grid. So, today I'm talking about the house build. It's been a while, I know. I've got distracted with a couple side projects. I built a laundry shed over there, set up our washer and dryer. Been dealing with that. Just life stuff. So, back to the house build finally. So I also wanted to let this wall cure. I had poured this, throughout the winter time before winter, and then I just waited through winter to do anything else. So here we are. So now the wall itself is ready to go. I got all my posts lined up. This is the north facing wall. These are 14-foot posts, and the other side are 10-foot posts. I got to get these poles up. However, in order to do that, there's a lot of little things I got to do because it's never just as simple. One thing you'll learn when you're building a house, no matter what kind of house you're going to build, even if it's wood, dirt bag, whatever, there's all kinds of prep work that you're going to have to deal with. And it's never as simple as just a simple thing like, oh, I'm just going to lift these posts into place. Nope. Before I lift these into place, I have to make sure that all these base plates are level because this is somewhat of a rigid frame because it's going to be welded into place. Okay, so what that means is that I'm not going to have a lot of play on these poles. I mean, these are 5 inch by 5 inch by quarter inch thick, and they're going to be welded to these base plates here. These base plates, of course, are anchored into the concrete. Now, I have to make sure that these were all leveled. So I had to go through here and grout these. So what I did was I came here with the level, a digital level, and I just leveled them all out. Checked the level this way, that way, made sure it's like 0.05 or less. So they're pretty close to exact as I could get them. And now when I lift these into place, that just means that I'll have less variance here. Hopefully my welds, when I welded the little mini base plates onto these poles, the reason I did that is because I wanted to be able to have these sitting up so they weren't balancing crazy to try to hold these in place and weld them at the same time. When I'm doing this by myself, folks, I'm a one-man band out here. That's another thing to point out, which is a very important thing to point out here. This makes everything that I'm doing make more sense when you realize that. Obviously, if I had a group of people to do this, would just have been done completely different. I would have just had the big base plate there. I would have just set the poles down with a piece of equipment, or 3 or 4 guys. We could have lifted it and just set it down, and then I could have just bolted it into place, made the adjustments, etc. But I don't have that option. So I had to do a workaround with that, and that's my workaround. So I'm going to be initially I was going to use my tractor to set these down because I made a little crane for my tractor. But I actually have my son staying out here right now, and he's pretty young, but he actually is going to at least be able to be a helping hand to help me do stuff. He doesn't know how to weld, and he's not, I can't have him driving the tractor, but I can have him operating a winch, and he'll be able to help me winch these into place. Basically, I'm going to have my truck going across here, okay? And on my truck, I have a winch that's mounted. It'll be strapped to the top of that pole. We'll have these poles lifted up a little bit before we start, so they'll be up higher anyways. And then the winch it's a hand winch. He'll be able to winch them up, and then I'll be here to hold the base of these to make sure they don't slip and slide all over the place. Once we get this into place, the truck's going to have a couple arms that come out where this will rest between those arms, and then I'll be able to bolt that arm to where this won't be able to tip over, and if it tips back, it's against the truck. So basically just hold these into place while I get under here with my welder, check the level, make sure everything's where it needs to be, make sure it's lined up. That's a big part of this, is lining these posts up, because you don't get more than one chance to do this, and making sure that everything's squared. Then I will weld these into place, and then that's that. They're welded into place. So, got to deal with that. That's what I'm dealing with. And I'll take you to the other side just to show you here. The wall turned out great. I actually am pretty happy with how it turned out. Ended up being close to 40,000 pounds here of concrete just in the wall itself. And of course, underneath it, I had a few feet of concrete underneath each one of these posts. So it's quite a bit of concrete, and I did this all by hand. I did it with a hand mixer. In fact, I did it with the Ryobi mixer here. And that's what I did all this concrete with. If you can just imagine this wall, once I clean it up, how nice this is gonna look with the exposed stone here. And then eventually when we have the porch on this, I'll have exposed stone for the pillars as well. So it should turn out nice. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. Minimal. I only have 2 cracks that I've found so far, and none of them are where the posts are. It's just little surface cracks on top, you know, above where the rock is in with this. So they're not big cracks though. So I'm overall fairly happy with that. So they're about 50 inches, or I'm sorry, 50 foot long by about 11 and a half inches tall by 16 inches wide. So it's pretty decent size stem wall here. And then of course I got to run the stem wall this way and that way. So anyways, so I have to run the wall this way and that way also, but I want to make sure I had a room to get in and out of here. So today's project is that in order to get these posts up in the, you know, in the air here and get everything up, I had to bore holes into these posts first, because I have to have a place to attach these trusses, and I just decided it's going to be a lot easier to do this while they're on the ground than to try to get my mag drill up there and do it sideways. So of course I want to put the holes in these before I have to do that. So before I even do that, I had to put holes in here. Now, this is my little station over here. So you can see, this is my little mag drill, and got all the holes that I needed. These are approximately 1/2 inch. They're bigger than 1/2 inch. I got these grade 8 bolts here. They're 6-inch bolts that are going to go through the posts and attach these. I am going to be welding these trusses into place as well. So I actually have double. I got the bolts, 3 bolts per side. This is 1/4 inch thick, 2.5 inch angle, and that's the top cord and the bottom cord, and the ends here made out of this stuff. You can see it's very thick, very heavy. Each one of these pieces of angle here are about 80 pounds each. So the top cord and the bottom cord, you know, you're already looking at 300 and close to 350 pounds just for the top and bottom cord running 40 foot. And then of course the webbing in between. So you're getting close to, you know, between 400 and 500 pounds for the truss. So in order for me to lift that up, I've got a system set up. So if you keep following along, I'll show you how that works. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, I'll show you that too. But anyways, I got all my holes put in here. But now this step is I have to go through here and put holes on both sides of these posts. Now, you know, most cases it would be a simple thing where you just drill a hole through things, right? Well, because these are 5-inch posts and they're 1/4 inch thick steel, and it's not as simple as just going straight through. I have, you know, you got to bore through these. So I have to actually measure on both sides of this post to make sure that the holes are lined up exact, if that makes sense. Like to make sure that when I go through this side and come out this side, that the bolts are going to be straight, and they're not going to be, because like I said, I don't have a bit that goes long enough to go through here. I'm actually boring through these with, like I said, a 1/4 inch thick steel. It's not the types of bits they're not just regular drill bits here. So I got to line these up. So there's a little bit that goes into this. It's not all these measurements, no matter how close you get, it includes the stem wall, anything that you're doing fabrication wise, things are always off. It doesn't matter how exact you are in your measurements or you think you're going to be. There's always going to be, you got to leave yourself room for play and for error. So it's no different with these. So what I did is, since all these holes are supposedly in the same spots right here on these pieces here, right? The fact of the matter is, hey kitty, is that they're not going to be exact. So I want to match up the piece that's going to be welded and bolted to this with that piece, etc., all the way down. So I have to just go through and individually line these up, and then once I have the holes where they need to be, I will bore the holes in, and then I'll flip it over and I'll do it on the other side. So it's a tedious process. I have to do this, but like I said, if you don't do it this way, it just sets you up for problems later when you go to line these holes up. And I don't want to have a 500 pound plus truss in the air trying to line up bolts that are not exact. So this has to be done first. So that's what I'm doing first, folks. And I know some of it's kind of boring stuff, but you know, this is part of the house build for my house build, and I'm still happy that I went with steel and concrete here for the frame and the base, because this thing is going to be sturdy and it's solid. So anyways, I'm going to get back to work, and thanks for following along. Sorry it's been a while since I posted the last video. I do have a laundry shed that I'm going to make a video on to show you the process of making that. That was kind of a fun build, little side project I did to hook up my washer and dryer in there and all that good stuff. So anyways, thanks for following along. Talk to you soon.